Well, hello everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya, for the final race of the 2014 Euroformula Open season. The championship has been decided in favour of Sandy Stuvik, but second place is still very much up for grabs between Alex Palou and Artur Janos. This the final of 8 stops on what has been a thrilling season of racing full of twists and turns. So it's hello from myself, Ben Evans, and a warm welcome to a gloriously mild November day here just outside the centre of Barcelona as the cars are forming up on the grid, readying themselves for the final race of the season. 17 laps or 35 minutes await, and it is a slightly different looking grid for us today in that Sandy Stuvik, the runaway championship winner, is not on pole position. Instead, that honour has gone to Alex Palou, the Spanish rookie sensation, who has already won twice this year, and he is looking to overhaul the points deficit to Artur Janos to see if he can possibly jump up into second place in the championship standings. And as you can see, Alex's fan club out in force. In second on the grid then, it is Nelson Mason, the Canadian driver, making a one-off return to the Euroformula Open this weekend. Mason, of course, who was so quick last year en route to 3 victories and 7 podiums. Third on the grid, essentially inheriting Mason's old car, is Yarin Stern for Team Westec. He finished third in yesterday's race, and Stern confident of another solid performance. Fourth on the grid then is Sandy Stuvik. The Thai driver has been unheaded in this second half of the season. He's had 7 victories on the bounce, not beaten since the Hungaroring at the start of July. Fifth on the grid then is Artur Janos, and provided that he stays within touching distance of Alex Palou, then he should be able to claim second in the championship. Well, Damiano Fioravanti had a pretty disappointing day yesterday in the BVM car after contact with Nelson Mason. He will be hoping for more, but the BVM team have been producing a quick car all year. 7th for Yu Kanemaru, who again is locked into a bit of a championship battle with Yarin Stern. Again, it would be a bad day for Kanemaru and a very, very good day for Stern to see Yu losing out on that 4th position. So this is how they line up in full then, with Alex Palou and Nelson Mason sharing the front row. Then it's Yarin Stern and Sandy Stuvik onto row 2. Row 3, Artur Janos and Damiano Fioravanti, and Yu Kanemaru, John Simonian, who was disappointed to retire so early on yesterday, and he tangled with Michele Beretta, who lines up in 10th, just behind Tanat Sathi and Thirikul. Alessio Rivera, a wild card this weekend on row 6 with Sean Walkinshaw, Konstantin Tereshchenko and Shea-Wan Lim. Row 8, again, 2 new drivers, Fabian Schiller, got a very last-minute call-up, and Leonardo Pulcini. Andres Saravia and Igor Walilko on row 9, ahead of Wei Fen Thong and Igor Urian. Enrique Baptista and Saad El Faisal on the penultimate row, with William Barbosa completing the grid in his Corbetta Competizione car as the drivers get the 1-minute board, the signal to start the engines as the grid clears. Well, yesterday's race, if you didn't join us, was a fairly dominant victory for Sandy Stuvik. He was able to break clear of Alex Palou in the early stages, and Alex then had Yarin Stern for company for much of the race, with Artur Janos coming home in 4th position. But Alex, who won, of course, in his Euroformula Open debut at the start of May back at the Nürburgring, was also victorious in the second race at the Hungaroring, has had multiple trips to the podium throughout the course of the year. And Alex looking for his 3rd victory, or will we have a different winner? In terms of the championship fight for second, by the way, Nelson Mason is non-point scoring this weekend. He won't impact on that points battle, so we can disregard Mason in terms of the points battle, but not for the race, because the Canadian driver has had a frustrating year in GP3, is a really very, very rapid pedaler. So the cars set off on their green flag formation lap. Just to explain how the Euroformula Open works, if you've never seen it before, this is substantively a Formula 3 championship. All the drivers are equipped with a Dallara F312 chassis, but then they are supplied with a controlled Toyota power plant from the GT Sport organisation, who also supply a number of the other pieces on the car, which helps keep costs at a very reasonable level. Likewise, they all run on a controlled compound Dunlop tyre. This race as well doubles up as the final round of the Spanish Formula 3 Championship, and that was claimed yesterday as well by Sandy Stuvik. The Spanish F3 Championship being comprised of the rounds from the Euroformula Open in Portimao, Jerez, and then here, circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia. And there's always a highlight for the drivers. It's the home of the Spanish Grand Prix since 1991. It is a track which puts a premium on the driver's ability to set the car up to absolute perfection, and also to put a premium on driving technique. So last opportunity for the drivers to get a sense of the track conditions, as just taking the opportunity to get a little bit of heat into their Dunlop tyres. They were qualifying for this race very first thing this morning. Since then, it has warmed up considerably, and therefore tyre pressures and light will be absolutely key. Well, there's Che Wan Lim, who has had a reasonably frustrating season. His best result has been a couple of fifth places. They came at the Nürburgring and in Portimao, but he would like to finish the season up in the points, as would do all the drivers. So far in the year, we've only had 3 winners. It's been Alex Palou, Sandy Stuvik and Artur Janos, with Janos and Palou limited to just a pair of victories apiece. Stuvik 11 times victorious this year. No wonder he wrapped up the championship in Monza with 2 races to spare. But what he would really like to do is have an unprecedented, unbroken run of victories through the second half of the season. He has, in terms of race meetings this year, he's had 4 complete clean sweeps. So Campbell's team watching on in the garage as the cars come to the conclusion of the formation lap. It's then going to be a standing start, and then the cavalry charge will begin towards turn 1. Last opportunity just to warm the tyres heading through the final chicane. Packed grandstands getting ready for the start of the race, as this is where they'll get the opportunity to see the Formula 1 stars of the future. As the cars coming up into position. Moments away from the start of the final race of what has been a fantastic year of racing in the Euroformula Open in 2014. Sandy Stuvik's won the title. Who'll finish second in the standings? Who will win the final race of the year? We're about to find out in 17 laps time as we get the green flag from the marshal at the rear of the field. The revs rise and away we go. It's a brilliant start from Yarin Stern from 3rd place, who boxes in Sandy Stuvik. Stuvik under immediate pressure from Artur Janos. It was also a great start from Palou, who's got Mason swarming on his tail, as there's contact behind that Sean Walkinshaw, who gets launched skywards. He should recover from there, as Konstantin Terashenko, one of the RP cars, takes evasive action through turn 1. Possibly Sandy Stuvik, in fact, who ran a little bit wide, so they're through the first couple of turns en route towards the turn 4 hairpin. It's Alex Palou who leads the way from Nelson Mason and Yarin Stern, then Stuvik, Janos, John Simonian, Konstantin Terashenko, and just in behind him is Yu Kanemaru. And this is what Palou wants to do, is try and have a fantastic first lap, but Mason is going to certainly take the fight to him. Yarin Stern as well hasn't finished higher than 3rd this year, and was talking to Yarin this morning. He's really confident about his prospects for today. Kanemaru closes up onto the tail of Terashenko as they swoop through turns 7 and 8 out over the rumble strip on towards turn 9 through a very rapid right-hander, and then downhill into the heavy braking zone for turn 10, which is one of the principal overtaking opportunities on this lap. One of the front cars in a position to pass, plenty behind her. Talat Sathian Thirikol looks to the inside of one of the BVM cars, and also Leonardo Pulcini. It's the BVM car that is sent scattering. I think that was Damiano Fioravanti. So here is the race leader, Alex Palou, on the brakes through the chicane. 17-year-old Spaniard, his first year of car racing, as Yarin Stern, under pressure from Sandy Stuvik, takes evasive action. And they're all fighting for a little bit of ground as Palou flashes through. and has built a 1.7 second lead at the end of lap 1. Second place Mason in third, Stern defending from Stuvik, who's got the advantage of the toe here as they head down the hill towards the first corner. Stern not option back to follow in behind Stuvik, then looks to challenge to the inside on the brakes into the first turn. Then Yarin Stern manages to maintain third position from the champion Stuvik. They've got Artur Janels just in behind them with John Simonian, Russian driver who's had a fine turn of speed this year. Just one or two wayward moments, who closes in behind. So the assembled masses of the RP Motorsport squad. Then we've got Konstantin Terashenko. He's got the black car of Yuki Namaru just in behind. Certainly behind the leading duo. This is shaping up to be a very close race. Alex Parlow, he just wants to check off and disappear into the horizon. Nelson Mason, well, we know he's a quick driver. He would absolutely love to get himself up onto the rostrum if he possibly can, as climbing uphill. Mr. Terashenko still with Kanemaru, not too far adrift. They have got Leonardo Pulcini, the driver who finished fourth in the Italian Formula 4 Championship this year as well, just beginning to loom up onto their tail. So what can Sandy Stuvik do? Because often this year we have seen Stuvik in a position where he can just run into the distance. That is not so much the case today. He's up behind Yarin Stern, and if Stern starts defending, that's going to bring Artur Janos into the mix. And don't forget that Janos is just 12 points clear of Alex Parlow in the championship standings, and if things were to stay as they are, that would be sufficient for Parlow to jump him to second place. So Janos needs to try and gain a place if he possibly can, but at the moment he's actually sliding away from Stuvik. So here's another look then at the charge down towards turn 1. Parlow, the white car, the helmet, defends as his teammate Sean Walkinshaw tags wheels. This is a little bit further round away from Thong, has a moment, and to his immense relief, that hasn't resulted in damage. It's Nelson Mason just beginning to be reeled in here a little bit by Yarin Stern. Stern's bringing most of the rest of the field with him for company at the moment, as we're on the third of 17 laps. They're not in particularly close contention in terms of being able to immediately challenge for a position, but I think what we can expect to see, and what we've certainly seen in some of the other races from some of the other classes this weekend, is that you get one car that starts defending, the queue forms up very rapidly behind. A glimpse there of Tanat Safi and Thirikol. He has got Damiano Fiavaranti just in behind him, and then it is Michele Beretta in the second of the BVM entries, but there is Fiavaranti behind Safi and Thirikol, and they've got Leonardo Pulcini just ahead of them. It's to Terashenko, it will appear, in seventh place, rather sees the cork in the bottle, because he's got Kanemaru queued up behind him. Also, they're all beginning to reel in John Simonian. So watch the field very closely bunched. There is Andres Saravia, who is going to try and progress for another points finish, but he has got a fair amount to do as down towards turn 1. Nobody quite close enough to challenge. Several of them having a little bit of a look. We have a replay of Fabian Schiller to the inside of Saud Al Faisal. And Fabian, a last-minute entry for this weekend, because Nicholas Pola, the regular driver of that car, has had flu basically a week. The doctor said he wasn't well enough to fly, and when you lay down in bed with flu, you don't really want a pan-European road trip. So the 11th hour, Team Westtech were able to get Fabian into the car. He showed very brightly yesterday. Fabian Schiller en route towards 10th position. A bit more work in front of him today as we return to the front of the field. Alex Parlow doing everything he can to claim second in the championship. Second in the race is Nelson Mason. He's got Yarin Stern and Sandy Stuvik beginning to close up onto his tail. Mason, of course, best remembered in the Euroformula Open for his exploits at the wheel of the Team Westtech car. It was a one-off opportunity that presented itself very late in the day for Nelson to come and race with the Emilio Veloci team this weekend. This opportunity is seized with open arms. He's making the most of. There is Artur Janos, 5th on the road. He'd get the championship points for 4th place, which would give him 12 points. But given that Alex Parlow looking set for 26 points, 25 for the win, and 1 for fastest lap, then that is going to be enough for Alex to leapfrog Artur. There is Artur Janos. He's losing touch as well with the group of cars in front. St. Thomas broken a long, long way away from John Simonian behind. Meanwhile, trying to make a little bit of progress is one of the Corbetta cars. That is William Barbosa from back of the grid. So William Barbosa, the Colombian driver, steadily moving up the order. Driver who finished 6th in last year's British Formula 3 national class. So a reasonably challenging season. The best result of 11th place in race 2 at the Hungaroring. It's Fioravanti to the inside of Tanart Safian Thirikul. That is for 10th place. Safian Thirikul sticking to the racing line. I was talking to Sean Walkinshaw, Campos racing driver, yesterday evening. He was saying that it's just so hard to overtake around here because these Euroformula Open cars have got, relatively speaking, so much more grip than power, and that means that the braking zones are incredibly short. You really need to be alongside your rival long before the corner to actually make the manoeuvre stick, particularly here. Certainly Barcelona and Catalunya, where you've got lots of corners and direction changes coming one after the other, pretty thick and fast. Fioravanti asking all the right questions now of Safian Thirikul. Well, John Simonian's just got the beginnings of a little bit of a queue behind him as the BVM cars, I suspect, are going to try and challenge the Westtech car of Safian Thirikul. As catching a brief glimpse there of Igor Waliko. Oh dear, Sean Walkinshaw in trouble once more, and I think that was Enrique Baptista who made contact with him, and Baptista possibly not going an awful lot further. Safian Thirikul, meanwhile, able to defend from Fioravanti and Beretta down the start-finish straight through turn 1. So we're on the 6th lap of the race. Still Alex Parlow who leads from Nelson Mason, Yaron Stern, Sandy Stuvik and Artur Janos. The real battles are the ones for the last couple of places inside the top 10. Not least the one for 10th, 11th and 12th. Which heads out of turn 4 now, slightly downhill towards turn 5. And something you don't really quite get a sense of from the television, and actually the number of elevation changes here. As into the pit lane, disappointing end to the season for Sean Walkinshaw. He's had 2 big bouts of contact, one on the way towards turn 1, the other just then with Enrique Baptista. So unfortunately that is that for Walkinshaw for the day. Meanwhile, Yaron Stern trying to get into the wheel tracks of Nelson Mason, but where Yaron is at the moment is that really difficult point where he's just beginning to get into the turbulent air behind Mason's car. And once he does that, driving through those extra 8 or so tenths a second is really tricky. You can do it, but it is often at the cost of just overexerting your tyres, which towards the closing stage of the race can really hurt you. Sandy Stuvik is staying there in 4th, Artur Janos in 5th, and then a little bit of a gap back to John Simonian in 6th, and in turn he has shaken off Yu Kanemaru, or rather he's not quite shaken off Yu Kanemaru, but Kanemaru who's shaken off Terashenko, but it's Parlow who continues to lead. So Artur Janos at the moment en route to 3rd in the championship, because he has been really dropped by the leading quartet. Nelson Mason won't be scoring points, but the other 3 cars in front of him will, and that is only going to give Artur the 12 points for 4th place, bringing him up to 240 points in the championship. But Alex Parlow should jump him with the 26 points that he is likely to gain for the win and fastest lap. Got wave their flags, of course, into turn 10 for the recovery of Enrique Baptista's car. So one of the multiple overtaking spots on the circuit is removed. And there you see stricken car of Baptista. Maru closing up onto the tail of John Simonian. Simonian's car control this year has been absolutely immense. He took a very, very well-deserved third place in the wet-dry race that we had at Spa at the start of September, but has also had one or two instances. He's certainly a driver in terms of raw talent, who knows how to pedal the car very quickly. What he's really been working on this year is his consistency, and he's one of those drivers. If he comes back next year with the RP Motorsport team, I think we could really see him in the hunt for the championship, or at least a number of race victories. So he and Kanemaru power through towards the first corner. Then there's that break in the air back to Tereschenko in 8th position. So climbing uphill out of turns 1 and 2, Kanemaru closing up behind John Simonians. Into the pit lane comes Kanemaru's Emilio De Vlotta teammate, that's Chae-Won Lim. And so the Korean drivers, somewhat indifferent season, unfortunately, comes to a little bit of a juddering halt. Simonian consults his mirrors. There is Kanemaru in pursuit. Kanemaru, as we saw in Monza, is a driver who's unafraid to start sticking out his elbows when he really needs to in a wheel-to-wheel fight. John Simonian likewise. This could get very entertaining in the last race of the season. I really want to conclude the year on a high. We've got the Tereschenko and Leonardo Porcini fight just in behind. The recovery work is completed, more or less, over at turn 10 as we return to our race leader, Alex Parlow. And Parlow doing exactly what he did in the very first race, the Nürburgring, which is breaking clear and running away with it. This is a driver with a very, very bright future ahead of him in international motorsport. He's jumped straight out of karts this year into the powerful cars of the Euroformula Open, straight into Formula 3 machinery, and has been a front runner from the very outset of the year. Parlow, whose advantage now is almost 4 seconds over those around him, just looking so smooth. And this is really why Formula 3 racing is known as the University of Motorsport, because these drivers are all dancing on the absolute razor's edge of having all the grip in the world and then suddenly none at all, because the amount of aerodynamic grip given out by these cars is immense, but when it breaks away, the cars really just snap sideways in an instant. As we see there, Tereschenko asked a little bit too much of his spoilers through turn 3, runs wide, and Porcini sees a gap to the inside. Tereschenko acts to close it. I'm not sure he's quite closed it in time. Tereschenko should have the inside line for turn 5, but Porcini finds a way past, and now Tanart Sathyanthirikul looks for a gap as Tereschenko repasses to the inside of Leonardo Porcini, and surely that's the advantage now for Tanart Sathyanthirikul to dart back through as they sprint into turn 7. And Tanart keeps to the inside, Porcini to the outside. Brilliant driving from the pair of them. And Leonardo Porcini maintains the position as they climb uphill. It brings Damiano Fioravanti into the mix as well as they head out of turn 9 and downhill towards turn 10. And despite all of that drama, no change in position as Porcini launches the inside of Tereschenko, flicks it sideways, somehow blocks out Tereschenko, who is going to lose out to Sathyanthirikul as well. And what a big ask of the car then from Leonardo Porcini, but it worked. He gained the place. Now Tereschenko busy defending pretty doggedly from Damiano Fioravanti. Leonardo Porcini, just in his first year of car racing, finished 4th in the supremely competitive Italian Formula 4 Championship. This is his debut in Formula 3 cars this weekend, and is really flying as now Damiano Fioravanti has got the run on Tereschenko. It's the orange and white BVM car to either side of Tereschenko, because to the inside that's Michele Beretta, and Beretta takes both places with one move. Brilliant stuff from Beretta. The driver finished 2nd in last year's Formula R Bath Championship, and also coming into the mix is Igor Yurian in another of the DAV cars. And for Tereschenko, suddenly, in the blink of an eye, he loses about 7 places because he's also been demoted by Andres Saravia. Saravia all over the tail of Igor Yurian. Let's just pause for breath for a brief moment as Tereshchenko has got Wililko and Fabian Schiller 3 wide through turn 5. Schiller to the inside, Wililko to the outside, and Tereshchenko, unfortunately for him, demoted by both of them. So Kostin Tereshchenko has dropped down to 16th position as a result of all of that. So there is the Polish driver. You've got Wililko, finished 10th in this year's ADAC Full Male Master Championship, the 17-year-old Pole. The podium's en route to that. Saravia picks up the pace in pursuit of Igor Yurien. Yurien has making his second appearance of the year in Euroformula Open. He was also out at the Nürburgring at the start of the season. The driver finished 4th in last year's Copper class. He has got Saravia, Fabian Schiller, and then Wililko all over his tail. So we're on to the 10th lap of the race. Alex Parlow still leads the way from Nelson Mason. So we have a look at Saud Al Faisal to the inside of William Barbosa. Al Faisal gets through for about 3 metres, and Barbosa then slides back on the switchback. So it is Parlow from Mason, and then Yaron Stern at the front of the field. This is the battle for 6th position between John Simonian and Yu Kanemaru. Kanemaru, the black car, just behind the black, orange and grey machine of Simonian. Kanemaru, his first year in Formula 3 cars, and spent 2 seasons in Formula Renault 2-litre machinery. John Simonian, again, another driver making the step on from Formula Renault 2-litre cars. He's also raced a little bit Formula 3, or sampled Formula 3 machinery rather, in Brazil. He finished 3rd in Brazilian F3 Open through the winter. Towards turn 10. Here is our race leader then, Alex Parlow, in complete control of the race. But he's not won since race 2 at the Hungaroring at the start of July. But he's worked so hard with the Campos Racing team to really take the championship fight to Sandy Stuvik. Across the line he comes, completes the 11th lap of the race, so we've got just 6 remaining. He's built up a big buffer over Nelson Mason. Mason maintaining about a 1.3 second advantage over Yaron Stern. Sandy Stuvik a further 1.5 seconds back, and that battle's never really caught fire in the way that I thought it might. So the RP Motorsport team, they have won 13 races so far in 2014. I have to say the 14th win looking quite unlikely, given the first of the RP entries. It's currently in 4th position. As Parlow heads out of turn 5. And just eases downhill through the gentle curve of turn 6. And flicking left at 7, right at 8, and uphill to the very, very quick right-hander at turn 9. Look, super slow motion at Parlow in action. And that's a lovely shot, because you can see just how smooth Alex Parlow is driving, because the car moving around, you look at the driver's hands, just the single turn of the steering wheel, and that is really the sign of somebody who is in complete control of their machinery. Again, a lovely insight there into the driver's technique. Alex's head, he's already looking at the exit of the next corner again, whilst the car is aerodynamically correcting itself through from the exit of the corner it's currently negotiating. And that really is what Formula 3 racing teaches you, and I think Alex's fan club are going to have a real treat on their hands as he powers through. Concludes the 12th lap of the race, just 5 to go. 4.7 seconds his lead over Nelson Mason. Mason in 2nd position, meanwhile just doing enough to shake off Yaron Stern. But what for next year for Alex Parlow? Because if he came back to the Euroformula Open, he would start the year as the red-hot title favourite, or will he graduate onwards and upwards through the motorsport ladder? John Simonian continuing to withstand the very best efforts of Yu Kanemaru. It's the pair of them. Cycle through turn 6 as we pick up once more our race leader. in the way that Sandy Stuvik has done so often this season, just easing clear and breaking away from the remainder of the pack, and that is how these drivers want to win the races, because whilst it makes for fantastic viewing for us to see wheel-to-wheel scraps, you talk to any of the drivers immediately after the race and they'll say, what I wanted to do was just get myself some clear air and then drive to a lap time. Maru's still just stuck in that turning air behind Simonian. So we've got a problem here for Sandy Stuvik, because Artur Janos moves part now. Yes, now that is going to be with an eye towards the championship position. So a change in place there. Stuvik allowing Artur Janos through. So that would promote Janos up to 15 points for his efforts. It would, because essentially he would get the points for third place. Mason is not scoring points. So Artur Janos moves up into fourth position. Sandy Stuvik drops back into fifth. So for Janos, in terms of the championship implications, well, he came into the race on 228 points. We can add 15 to that tally. That gives him 243. Here's another look at it. And that, by my maths, would give Janos second place in the championship by just a solitary point, because Alex Parlow is currently on course to net 26 points, 25 for the win, 1 for the fastest lap. And so Janos, by claiming the points for third position, will do enough to claim second in the standings. And Sandy Stuvik, playing the good teammate, he has achieved all he could possibly achieve this year, Stuvik. Because it's so difficult coming back into a championship which he very, very nearly won the year before, as was the case, of course, with Sandy Stuvik last year. He netted the most points, but with only the top 14 scores counting. In a sense, it meant that Ed Jones could jump him due to the number of wins that Jones notched up. So Stuvik's come back this year. He has done all the winning. So out of the final turn, Alex Parlow across the line. 3 laps to go then. Parlow has done all he could possibly do today. His lead over Nelson Mason now in excess of 5 seconds. Mason in turn holding off Yarin Sturm. I think though Yarin will be reasonably pleased with the way that today has gone. This would be his 6th podium finish of the season. All of them have been third places, and all of them have actually been double thirds. He had 2 rostrums in Jerez, 2 rostrums in Silverstone. Looking for 2 rostrums here. Barcelona. Artur Janos then in 4th position. Sandy Stuvik in 5th. Janos, though, I don't think is going to be quite in a position to challenge Yarin Sturm. He's dropped some 7 or so seconds back from Sturm. Stuvik just riding shotgun in behind him in turn. They're a good 5 seconds ahead of the Yu Kanemaru and John Simonian battle. So the RP Motorsport team afforded the luxury of just being able to lock out the top 2 places in the championship. They won the team's championship as well, of course. RP Motorsport, they're not going to have the triumph in the final race of the year, because even if massive misfortune were to befall Alex Parlow, we've got Nelson Mason and Yarin Sturm up behind him. For Parlow, this is the perfect performance in front of his home crowd, and an awful lot of very influential people from Spanish motorsport are here this weekend in Barcelona, and this is the sort of performance that starts to really attract sponsors, because Alex, like Sandy Stuvik and many other drivers, really the whole package, supremely quick in the car, but also very amenable to talk about the car. As with so many of these drivers, speaks a number of languages and always very good with the media work, and that's the whole package that teams further up ladder want to see as these drivers look into turning professional and picking up paid drives, be it in single-seaters or GT cars or touring cars as they progress on through their careers. So into the last 2 laps of the 2014 Euroformula Open season. Looks like Alex Parlow is going to win the race, but the battle for second in the championship standings is going to go in favour of Artur Janos. Janos and Sandy Stuvik flying in formation, order slightly reversed, as they have done so much this season, because Artur is going to be a richly deserved second in standings. 2 victories for him, but again, a very impressive array of second places. He had 7 second place finishes as well. Just had that one retirement, of course, in Jerez, when he had a drive-through penalty and then made contact with Tanal Safi and Thiracal. For Sandy Stuvik, last year he never finished lower than 5th position. This year, unfortunately, he had a retirement at the Hungaroring. He had a tough race in Portimao. Rather blotted that copybook, but nonetheless it's been a supreme year. Well, Yarin Stern, Israeli driver, was talking to him last night about what he wants to do next year, and he's got lots of options on the table. He was saying that the search for sponsors has already started. What he'd really like to do is put together a package to move up through the single-seater ladder, ideally a top team in Formula Renault 3.5 litre cars, but it is all about finding the right package and putting that together in a timely fashion, as into turn 3 for the final time. Alex Parlow has been imperious throughout the course of this race, as he is set fair for his 3rd victory of what's been a fantastically promising debut season of car racing. Because to take nothing away from Sandy Stewart, this is his 5th year of racing in slicks and wing single-seaters. This is Parlow's 1st year in cars, having jumped straight out of karts. He's adapted to the machinery superbly well. So he climbs out to turn 8 for the final time. Swings through turn 9. He's just got the heavy braking zone for turn 10, then the technical final third of the lap to negotiate. The checker flag is ready and waiting there. I'm sure it's going to be a big roar from the crowds here, because we've got the big screen set up on the top of the pits buildings, so that the crowd being kept fully aware of everything that's been happening during the race, and they will like nothing more than to cheer home a home winner. As Parlow just flicks it sideways, has to be a little bit careful. Last thing you want to do is throw it all away with a couple of corners to go, but there are no such dramas. The fan club's flags are out in force as Alex Parlow comes out of the final turn of the season and scores his 3rd victory of the year, to the delight of the Campos Racing team. It's been a wonderful conversion of pole position, with 2nd place to Nelson Mason, 3rd to Yarin Stern, and then 4th place and 2nd in the championship for Artur Janos, 5th to Sandy Stuvik, and 6th for Yu Kanemaru, which means that Kanemaru has disposed of John Simonyan on this last lap. Simonyan through in 7th. 8th place goes to Leonardo Porcini, 9th to Safi and Thiracal, and completing the top 10, Michele Beretta. So the Campos team get the result that they want in their home race in Barcelona. Alex Parlow has put a marker down for 2015, as we will look forward to seeing he, Sandy Stuvik and others graduating up through the echelons of international motorsport. And remember, the Euroformula Open is where you saw them first. So let's have a look then at the results from the final race of the year. Parlow victorious, Mason in 2nd place, Stern 3rd, Janos in 4th, and Sandy Stuvik, Yu Kanemaru, John Simonyan, Leonardo Porcini, something Thiracal, Michele Beretta. Alex Parlow setting the fastest lap to also build on his pole position. And then 11th place for Damiano Fioravanti, 12th for Andres Ravia. Another good drive from Fabian Schiller on his Euroformula Open debut. The same for Igor Walilko. Igor Yurin will be disappointed with 15th. Konstantin Tereshchenko, well, that nightmare lap in the middle of the race, dropping him to 16th, head away from Thong. Both alike disappointment for Jean-Luc and Enrique Bautista. So in the championship standings, well, there you have it. Sandy Stuvik, the champion, 2nd place. Artur Janos by just that solitary point from Alex Parlow. Yu Kanemaru holds on to 4th place from Yarin Stern. And then Tereshchenko in 6th from Tanal Safi and Thiracal, Andres Ravia, Sean Walkinshaw and Cameron Twynham. It's been an excellent year of racing in the Euroformula Open, and once more the Formula 3 cars proving why they are the University of Motorsport. It's Paolo deciding to go a little bit Sebastian Vettel on us and celebrating with a few donuts. And why not? In fact, quite a few of them deciding to entertain the crowd with a few donuts. That was right in front of the fan club, who are on their feet applauding their man, who is heading towards Parc Fermé. We'll hopefully be in a position to grab a word with Alex in a couple of moments' time before they head up to the podium for the final time this season. We'll do make sure that you keep an eye on the Euroformula Open website throughout the course of the winter, as the calendar for 2015 will be announced very shortly, and then keep an eye out for all of the driver announcements throughout the winter months before the season gets underway next spring. Now though, in the November sunlight here at the circuit, Barcelona, Catalunya, we have had two enthralling races for the Euroformula Open for the end of the season. Delight for Paolo as he comes to a halt in Parc Fermé. Now, of course, will we get the obligatory nose stand? Let's see. Delight for Paolo. The roar of the Campos team as he runs over to celebrate with them. A super drive. Alex Paolo celebrating with a few donuts, victorious in the final race of the Euroformula Open season. And there's a wonderful celebratory atmosphere down in Parc Fermé as Paolo looks his helmet in a hands device, grinning from ear to ear. So congratulations from Nelson Mason to Alex Paolo. Paolo then will be ushered towards the podium and maybe an interview as well.
Alex Paolo, beautiful win to finish the season and win at home.
Yeah, of course, it's beautiful to win, and in the last race of the season, and more here in my house. And for all the fans that are here, for all the people that are here to see me, thanks for all, to the team, my family, to all the people that are with me. Thank you.
A lot of people there cheering for you. It has been short for the Vice Championship. I think you arrived third by a couple of points, but still a very beautiful season.
Yeah, I arrived third. In Monza we've got very bad luck. One driver hit me in 2 races. I can't do nothing in these times, but we finished first now and we have to enjoy that.
Absolutely. Superb first season. Go to the podium. Thank you.
So Alfredo Filippone posing the questions. Let's take a look then at the highlights of the final race of the year, and disappointment initially off the line for Sean Walkinshaw as he made contact on the run down towards turn 1 as Paolo consolidated his early advantage behind. There were plenty of challenges for positioners. Weifeng Thong had an early spin. It's a great scrap between Damiano Fioravanti and Tanot Sathyanthirikul, which eventually resolved in Sathyanthirikul's favour. Enrique Baptista compounded Sean Walkinshaw's day, and that ended the race for both of them. Meanwhile, Konstantin Tereshchenko and Leonardo Pulcini providing some of the highlights of the race. A super wheel-to-wheel scrap between the pair of them. As Sathian Thirikul invited himself into that fight, Tereshchenko eventually found himself swamped from all angles and plummeted down through the order. Sadar fires than William Barbosa also had an entertaining tussle, which decided in favour of the Colombian driver Barbosa. Out front, though, Alex Palou was never headed. It was a beautiful lights-to-flag conversion of his pole position. Setting the fastest lap as well, but it wasn't quite enough to give him second in the championship, because fourth place on the road and third in the points means that Artur Janos makes it an RP Motorsport 1-2. Second in the race was Nelson Mason, and Yarin Stern completing the rostrum. But delight and jubilation for Palou. On to the final rostrum of the year in third place, Yarin Stern. He has shown some great pace all weekend. Thumbs up, and second place for Nelson Mason. This one-off appearance for the Emilio de Vallota team. And then our race winner, and in dominant fashion, Alex Palou. Congratulations to him. It's a very rare occasion this season that Sandy Stuvik, the champion, let's not forget, has not made it on to the rostrum. The winning team, Campos Racing.
Cultivando seguridad, las autoridades que también van a salir para acompañar, y en este instante doncs anem a escoltar en honor al guanyador l'Àlex Palou l'himne d'Espanya.
Huge ovation for Alex Palou and the Spanish national anthem. The Campos team are celebrating as we head in to the final round of trophy presentations for the year. So a sixth rostrum for Yarin Stern. Can be rightly pleased with that. It's an eighth career Euroformula Open podium for Nelson Mason. And a third victory of his debut season in car racing for Alex Palou. Up on the top step of the podium. Delight for Palou. Huge ovation from Parc Ferme and the grandstand opposite the rostrum. The Campos team victorious again after the difficult 2013 campaign that they had to bounce back the way they have in 2014. Has been very impressive. So as the drivers pose for some photos on the top step of the rostrum, the champagne corks are about to pop for the final time this year, which means it's time for myself, Ben Evans, on behalf of everybody involved in the Euroformula Open, to say thank you very much for your company throughout the course of the year. Hope that you've enjoyed the action as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. We'll see you in 2015. So the champagne has flown on the podium as we think about the GT Open season finale.
Sonrisas, brazos arriba. Ahí está la victoria y ahora le queda munición.